I bought Ted's program. Within the last 2 years, I purchased 48 tax liens, averaging from a couple $100 to just under $1,000 was the average. And they're averaging 8-9%. A couple of them I got for 18%. So it's a great program. It's the safest investment I've seen, earning a better interest rate than the banks are offering.
All right, so I'm going to ask Carrie to come forward. So why don't we stay in your chair and let's give Carrie a nice welcome. She's going to come up and teach us how to do the online.
Thank you. So what we're going to talk about is buying liens online. Many counties are turning to the online lien auctions. Why? Well, it opens the bidding up to a larger group of people because you can do this from Canada, you can do this from anywhere in the United States, you can do it from anywhere, from your home, you can do it anywhere. For the bigger counties, it is more cost effective because they need less people to do it. The smaller ones, as pointed out this morning, it might not be quite so cost effective for them, but the bigger ones it definitely is, and it's easier to run for them. So how do you prepare for an online auction? Well, it's not that different if you were going to go to the real tax lien certificate sale. You're going to want to make sure that you have all your research done. Most counties do have a practice auction up on the same website that they are going to do the real auction. It's usually up there for a few weeks before they start this. They open up the bidding and whatnot. It usually runs for a couple days when it's online. It's not usually just a one-day only shot. So make sure that you go ahead and look at their practice auction. And you're going to want to set up your account well in advance, a couple days before the auction actually starts, because you're going to have to enter in a ton of information about yourself. If you're doing it in a company, you have to enter in all that information. So you definitely want to make sure you get that done before the auction opens. We're doing lien certificates, so as Ted pointed out, a deed, you might want to do a lot more research. A lien certificate, I still say do research, try and drive by. Usually a day or two before is what I try to do it. And know your max bid on all properties. Now, you say max bid, you automatically think, how much money am I going to spend on this property? In this case, because we're doing tax lien certificates, it's more likely that you're saying, what's the lowest amount of interest rate I'll take on this? Because most of these are going to redeem and you're going to end up getting that interest rate. And then your banking information, you're going to have to enter that in a few times, so make sure you know it. Now, when the auction begins, you log in. Pretty simple. You've already got up your account. You make your deposit, and that's when you're going to need your first set of banking information. You make your deposit. It's usually a percentage of your entire budget. So if you're going to spend, if you've got $2,500 to spend on all certificates, doesn't matter if you're buying $40 ones or if you're buying one that's $2,500, you're going to make a percentage of that as your deposit, somewhere around 10%. So you're going to put down $250 to start. And then you've already done your research because you're all great students. You know exactly what you're looking for. You look up your research properties and you bid. As simple as that. Now, what I'm going to do is, because there's auctions going on all over the county and it's absolutely impossible for me to keep up with all of them, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through a quick video that actually shows this past June, Brevard County, Florida, which is where I live. They had an online tax lien certificate auction, and I went ahead and I recorded myself buying some of these.
So what we are going to do today is we are going to go through the Brevard County, Florida online tax lien certificate purchasing process. We are going to start at the Brevard County tax collection site, brevardtaxsale.com, and we're going to click here where it says start here, and we're going to just review the rules real quick. First thing I'd like to know is, how do I pay for my deposit and liens purchase? So I'm going to click on that, and all this information here tells us that we're going to have to do a fund transfer at time of registration and put down a deposit before we can bid on any of the items. I'm also going to check here on bidding rules, and this will tell us everything we need to know about the auction rules, and it's definitely important to make sure we know all these rules before we begin. So I'm going to go back to home, and we're going to begin by registering. We are going to register as an EIN, and we're just going to fill in this information. And now we're going to fill in our contact information. We are buying this within a corporation, and therefore everything will be done with our primary name on the winning certificate as our company name. This could be anything from an incorporation to an LLC. And now we're going to enter in our mailing address where our certificates will be sent to. Next, now we get to set up our username and our password, and we're also going to select a security question so that way nobody can hack into our account. Okay, now our registration is complete. You can see that we have our bidder number, our username, and our password, which is blurred out, but it is there. And then last but not least, the user agreement. And there is also a notice to bidders that you have to agree or not agree with, and it's important to read through all this. Okay, so this brings us to our summary screen. And what this is this is going to show you all of your awarded certificates and your bids. Now what we're going to do to get started is we're going to come over here to this sidebar where it says Make Deposit. And this deposit is going to allow us to actually make bids. And we have to fill in our banking information at this point, your routing number, your checking number, which can all be found on your personal checks or your company checks. And then you get to enter your deposit amount, which is 10% of the face value or $100, whichever is greater. And then this is your authorization, your agreement for the electronic payment, which we will authorize. And then you return to your account homepage. Now this shows that we have made a deposit of $240 and we can still win up to $2,400 in the tax lien certificates. Okay, so once we are ready to start looking for properties, we can enter in multiple search criteria. We can do the face amount, we can do acreage search, we can search on assessed value, owner name, property address, that sort of thing. What we're going to do, I've already found a few that we're going to look at, is we're going to search by parcel ID. And it brings right up to this one that I've already done some research on. We're not going to get into the real property research in this segment, but just know that some does need to be done. This one here, this is, you can see the site address. You can see that the owner lives in California. So that could be a good or bad. That could mean that it's less likely to actually redeem. This one you can see that the market value for this year has dropped in the previous years, as it has in many places. This one is currently listed at $94,920. And you can see that there is no homestead exemption. In Florida, that's something you have to look for. And there's all kinds of other information that you can get right here. You can see that it has a patio with a screen enclosure. And we can also click on this button here that says tax information. And that will bring us to another site that now tells us the legal description, what the taxes for the previous years have been. From here, we can also go back here. We can copy and paste this site address, and we can bring that over to Zillow.com and paste that address in here. And this will give us the comparables for the area. You can see that this is one of the lower properties at $92,000. The house across the street's $130,000, $105,000 down the street, $156,000. We can click on this and it will give us a Zestimate at approximately $101,000. It tells us it's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,200 square foot home built in 1985 with a attached garage. There's all kinds of information. You can see market trending and whatnot. This is all very good research tools. We are going to go back to the property appraiser site. So this is the actual plat map, and we can change this over to an aerial view. And we can see that this property right here, at the time of this image, was in decent condition. You can see that it is in a subdivision. We're going to zoom out a little bit. And you can see that this subdivision actually has canal access, and it looks like there may be a few marina slips over here. So the land value, even if the house is unlivable, the land value is going to be worth more than what this tax lien is going to cost us. So even if we had to tear down the house, you're still going to make out just fine. So now that we've come back to the tax site, we can enter our bid amount for this property. And for this property, we've already made our calculations and whatnot, and this one we are going to bid 13%. So we enter the 13% in right here, and we click on bid. So now it came back, our bid 13%. So now we can go home, and it shows up here that we have our bids are in, the face value of that bid, our average interest rate that we've bid on it. So we can go back to quick search and we can search on a few more. Now I've also got another property that I've done some research on. We'll submit that. And as you can see, this screen has actually redeemed. This property is no longer available from the time 15 minutes ago when I did the research. So that's something to be aware of, that these can redeem at any time. So this is another one that we've researched. This is actually vacant land. You can tell because the face amount of this lien is much less than that of a house. So we're going to go ahead and click on that. And we can see that this actually has a site address. So this is part of a subdivision that has been planned or partially developed. We can find that out by scrolling down, going to the tax information. We can see that there is no homestead exemption on this. And again, we see that there is an actual property address here from the tax collector's office. So here we can also bring up the plat map and we can see that this is a corner lot. We'll change this to aerial view and confirm that there are in fact roads here, which there are. You can see there are houses across the street from the lot and roads, and it looks as if there's also a driveway planned for that lot. We're going to go back to the property and we are going to go ahead, and we've done our research. This vacant lot, we are going to bid a maximum bid of 16%. And we're going to click bid. Okay, now this can bring us back to our home page. It now shows that we have 2 bids. Our average interest rate of those 2 bids is 14.5%. So that's it for investing online in Brevard County, Florida's tax lien certificate auction. Now all counties are going to be slightly different, but it's the same gist. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to continue bidding on some more properties that I've done some research on, because there are many people that will be bidding at this auction, and it is possible that we could be underbid on some of them. So to ensure that we are able to invest our full $2,400 in this auction, we're going to go ahead and bid on multiple properties.
On that one, that last one that we just saw, you'll notice I only bid 16% on that vacant lot. Didn't really have to go too low on that because I didn't think there was going to be much competition on that one. That one I did get. And the rules in that county state that if nobody else bids, you get the maximum. So I'm currently collecting 18% on that lot, even though I only bid 16%. So, anybody have any questions about that?
So is there a leftover sale or in Brevard County?
The question was, is there a leftover sale? And the answer is yes. That's what we're going to go into now. So thank you. All right, so what happens to properties that don't sell at auction? The county still obviously needs the revenues on these properties. There is a leftovers list. Now I'm not going to go into great detail because you guys have heard a lot about that already today. Basically, you can purchase these tax lien certificates with no competition. It's first come, first serve, and what that no competition means is that you go there first, you say, I want this one. You don't have to enter in any percentage amount. You get it at the full percentage. So how does it work? Basically, the same as when you're looking at your lien certificates for the actual auction. They're going to put them up on a list, and you're going to be able to get that either from your county offices. If they're doing them online, you can usually get them right online from the same website that you did the auction at. And basically from there, you do your same research, same due diligence as if you were actually going out and buying these lien certificates. The county, once they've processed your payment, they mail you the lien. So many of your investors, they're under the impression that the properties on this leftover are useless. There's something wrong with them. Not always the case. Sometimes it is the case, but not always the case. There's reasons for this. Sometimes, a lot of times there's more properties than there are bidders. I mean, that's just a pretty common one. Other times, as Bob will get into a little bit more later, that the high bidder could have not paid. Then what do they do with it? They've still got it. Sometimes they do a re-auction, sometimes they just put it on the leftovers list. Sometimes, not often, but the county will admit to it if they do it, they could have made a mistake in notifying the owners in any of their listing, because they have a whole procedure they have to do so that it is legal for them to auction off these properties or these lien certificates on these. It can cause them to fall off that list before the actual lien sale, but they could have resolved all that afterwards, and they may not want to wait a full year or how long it is until they have their next sale, and they'll put that right on the leftovers list. So what do you need to know about these? They're not always called leftovers. You can go to the county offices and say, I want to see your leftovers list, and they're going to get the deer in the headlights. They're not going to know what you're talking about. So find out, you're going to have to ask a few questions, kind of probe the person you're talking to and find out what they're calling them. It could be over the counter, it could be leftovers, tax lands. Texas, we've already know they're strike off. Lands available, that usually is more towards deeds, but it might work just to get through what you're looking for. And know when your county will open up their leftovers to the public, because usually there's a time period after the lien sale that they have to wait before they can start selling these leftovers. So know when they do that. And again, research, research, research. I still say drive by, but with a lien certificate, you can take that risk if you so choose. Usually it's the same website that you went to when you went to the lien auction. When you were doing your bidding, you logged in, you had a username. Usually it's all the same place, same username. So they make it very convenient to go back and get these leftovers. Now you will need to re-enter your banking information, because most counties will not keep that. Once they get your money the first time, they get rid of that information. So you have to know that you're going to have to give them again and log in a few minutes before the sale's open so you can take care of that. And the properties that are decent on this list will go fast. If it's right after a sale, you've already done your research, you know, oh wow, there's a nice house that got left off on here somehow. I want that. Well, other people are going to want that too. So it's going to go fast, and it's first come, first serve. So again, I'm going to show another video here from the Brevard County. This was last June, so this is very current. We logged in, we did some research, and went about actually buying some of these leftovers online.
Previously, we went to the Brevard County, Florida online tax lien certificate auction. At that auction, I showed you how to register, research, and ultimately bid on properties. Today, we're going to take a look at the over-the-counter sales for that same county. What that is any property that was not sold during the regular auction is now available from the county on a first-come, first-served basis. Now in Florida, the auction process is a bid-down process, meaning that you're bidding on the interest rate starting at 18% or whatever your particular difference, so you need to know their rules in advance. In Brevard County, Florida, the maximum percentage is 18%. So when we purchase these certificates over the counter, we're going to get that full 18% interest rate because there is no competitive bidding. So let's go ahead and see what Brevard County has on their leftovers list. Now we're here at the Brevard County official tax certificate sales site. Now you can see we have some options here. We can start here, register, purchase county held certificates. There's also this item right here, which is preview items for sale. Now I've gone ahead and done that already, so I'm going to go ahead and log in. And this is just telling me some of the county rules about the county held certificates, the next auction, the results, refunds. We're going to click continue. Now this is previewing the county held sale. We're going to come over here to click on buy certificates. And we want to buy them for this certificate year, so we're going to view the certificates. And these are all the certificates that are now available tomorrow to start bidding. We're going to come up here to do the quick search because I've already done some research and there's a few that I want to point out to you. I'm going to start by parcel ID. Now this one, as you can see, it's not available until tomorrow. We want to do our research in advance because once they turn on this auction, it's a first come, first served basis, and you want to be the first in line and know which properties you're after. So if we click on the parcel ID, it comes up with the property research. Now this you can see is in Palm Bay, Florida. It's owned by somebody who lives in Melbourne, Florida. It's 0.37 acres and the land value is $18,000. Now this right here, this is important. This is the use code. This tells you what this property actually is, if it's vacant land, if it's a single family home. This one is 10, which as you can see is vacant residential land, single family, platted. So we know that we're just looking at land that's worth $18,000. You can see the previous year's market value was $40,000, $20,000, $18,000, so it's coming down. You can also look down here, you can see the deed types and what the previous sales were. And you can also click on this, which is Web Map. This way you can see exactly where these properties are. Now this one, you can see is a nice vacant corner lot in a residential area. You can zoom in on it. You can see that there's homes with pools and nice driveways. It looks like it's a very nice neighborhood. So this one's probably a pretty good one to choose to bid on. So what we're going to do is we're going to hang on to this number because this is one that we are interested in purchasing tomorrow at the actual sale. We're going to look up some more properties. This certificate I've done some research on, and I already know that this is probably one we're going to like, but let's take a look at it anyhow. You can see that this one total owed is $418. Now keep that in mind. Let's look at the property. We can see that this has no actual physical address, so it looks like it's vacant land. And this use code over here that we talked about before confirms that. So we scroll down and we can see it's about a 1/4 acre, and it's worth about $9,100. Now the important part I said to remember was that the certificate is worth $400. So when you take the difference between the value and the certificate, and keep in mind you're probably going to have to pay some back taxes for other years as well. So you want to make sure you have a good separation of value between what you're going to pay for this property if you ultimately foreclose on it versus what the land value is. Now let's take a look at this one on the map. And this one you can see is also vacant land. It looks like there's some apartments over here, there's some houses here, and it looks like it's right on a corner street. We zoom out a little bit, you can see this is a fairly well developed area. You're going to have all your utilities, your road access, and everything that's important if you ultimately foreclose on this property. And these are the types of things we're looking for. We can also scroll down. Now this is interesting too. You can see down here on the sales information that in 2007, this property sold for $3,200 and the deed type is XD, which means that was a tax deed. Somebody else bought this from the tax deed sale. So we're going to go ahead, let's look up a couple more properties. Now this one's also $481.27 is what's total owed on this certificate. Now this one's in Palm Bay. It has the actual street address. The person who owns it lives in Coral Gables, so that could be a good or a bad thing depending on if you want it to redeem or if you want it to hopefully not redeem and then you can foreclose on it. Its use code is 10, so this is vacant land. It's about a 1/4 acre and it's worth about $5,000. You can come down here, you can see the sales information. Let's go ahead and take a look at the map. Now this one's a good example because if we look at these lines, you can see that this is in a residential developed neighborhood. We zoom in a little bit, and you can see that this lot kind of has an odd positioning with the lot next to it. And these property lines come right up next to this house. Now this could actually be a good purchase if you foreclose on this because it's a pretty good bet that the person that lives in this house right here would not want anybody to develop this lot that is so close to his house. And you can see here too also from the picture that the owner of this house owns boats, RVs. They probably have some expendable cash. They would be a good person to market this lot to because they would be your most likely buyer. You always want to be thinking about your exit strategy for what if you get this property and you foreclose on it and you own this property. How are you going to sell it? These are good things to look for. Now we're also going to look at a few that I found that maybe aren't so great deals, and I'll explain to you why I think they may not be the best deal. Now this one, when you look at it, you can see that it comes up for 3 different year certificates. So you want to make sure that you know what is owed on all 3 previous years, including the year that you're going to purchase it. Now, as you can see, this is a vacant land, and it's 0.19 acres, so it's a fairly small lot. But this is the important part right here. Land value is only $500. So if you're going to be purchasing multiple years back taxes, there's not much margin for profit if the property value is only $500. So this one we would consider a bad deal. Let's look at a couple more. Okay, this one, again, we can see that there are multiple years back taxes owed. So if you ultimately were going to foreclose on this property, you would have to pay off all of these other liens. Now this one, we look at it, and it's 1.27 acres vacant land worth $3,000. So now you're saying to yourself, well, that might be worth it to pay $1,000 for a property that you're going to sell. So let's take a look at this one on the map. Well, here's where we're going to run into problems. This vacant land has no other properties around it, no road structures around it except for some dirt trails, and it's hard to say if these dirt trails will actually go to your property or not, because in Florida, trees overgrow dirt trails very fast. So this one, unless you really like hiking in the woods to find your property, might not be the best deal. Let's take a look at one more property. Again, this one has multiple years back taxes owed to it. So that's always a red flag, something to look out for. This one is vacant land. It's owned by somebody in Arlington, Virginia. So they probably don't know what they have. This one, it's 1.25 acres of land, worth about $2,000. You can see that it's sold, previous history. It might not be too bad of a deal. Let's take a look at it. And oh boy, now you see why this might not be a good deal. There is absolutely no roads out here. And if you zoom in close, you can see what this kind of lighter area here is marshland and swamp. There's absolutely nothing you can build on swamp without having to first put in roads, put in utilities, and build up that land so it is above the water level. Probably not the best deal. So now that we've done some research, you can see the sale will start on June 23rd at 10 a.m. So that happens to be tomorrow. So we're going to go ahead and come back tomorrow and actually purchase some of these properties that we researched. Yesterday, we researched properties that we would like to purchase for tax lien certificate in the over-the-counter sale from Brevard County. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that our account is in order so that once that sale opens up, we can go in and purchase the liens that we've already researched. So I've already signed in, and what we're going to do is we're going to come over here, and what we need to do is provide bank information because they need to have that for us to purchase any of these over-the-counter liens. Now it says that there's going to be a funds transfer, and it's explaining how all of that's going to happen. And then we just need to enter in your banking information. Now once we've entered all that in, it's actually confirming our bank account information. So now we just have to wait a few minutes. And once this sale opens up, we can plug in those parcel IDs that we already researched yesterday, and we can start purchasing some of these over-the-counter liens. All right, so now that the auction has actually opened up, we're going to go ahead and type in our parcel ID for the first property that we looked up, and hopefully we can get that certificate. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here to Buy Certificates. And we're going to click on the certificate year, View Certificates. Now this is the same process we used yesterday when we were researching them. So we're going to click on Quick Search again because we already know the parcel ID. And we're going to come down here and we're going to type in the first one we looked at. 682. And we're going to hit Submit. Now this one, it says Buy It Now. It's already gone. So somebody has already beat us into this 30 seconds into this sale. Okay, now this one is still available. It says Buy Now, so we're going to go ahead and click on that. Now this is the authorization. I hereby authorize tax collector to purchase this certificate for the $418.53. We're going to confirm that. And that's it. we're finished. It says we have purchased certificate number 001166, and that's how you do it. It's that easy. Now if we go back to our home page, it shows that it is confirming that we have purchased certificate number 001166, parcel ID, the date we purchased it, and the certificate value that we purchased it for. Now remember, this purchase is going to have the full 18% interest rate because there is no competitive bidding. This is first come, first served. Whoever raises their hand first gets this certificate. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to plug in these other parcel numbers that we researched yesterday because I want to go ahead and get as many of these as possible because of that 18% interest rate. It's so good you can't pass it up. So we're going to go ahead and do some more.
Who noticed that that one that we purchased right here was only $400? All right, so it's not that much. 18% on 400, that's not going to break the bank, right? What am I really hoping? That property that was that $400 one was They don't redeem because that was that vacant property next to those condos that's worth $9,100. What would I rather? Now, am I going to cry if I only get 18%? Probably not, because I'll just do it again. So, do we have any questions about leftovers? Yes. The question was, since it showed that we will, or I said that we will have to pay back taxes for previous years, and does the county show that on the website, or do we have to call them? Typically, they tell you that, because that is definitely something that you need to know. If it doesn't say it on your website, absolutely call them and find out if this is already, if somebody else has purchased a lien that maybe has a priority above you, find out if there's other taxes that are still owed, and you're going to want to pay all of them. Think Ted's got something to add to this?
Yeah. No, I'm just waiting for you to finish.
Oh, all right, well, I think I'm done.
Yeah. Well, give her a hand. We're going to say, what do you think of that, right? That was great. Good work.
Thank you.
I'd like to say thank you to Ted. Mario and I wouldn't be in this situation if Ted didn't take the time to show us how to do it and to make it easier for us and for anybody who's interested in this material. It's really not complicated. The only thing that we just need to do is step forward. So I would suggest to everybody to listen to the tapes, but the CD, and read the books and come to this event, because not only you'll get to meet the visiting professor or the other coaches and the people that work here. It's invaluable. I mean, Mario, I'm sure that Mario would agree with me. Thank you very much to Ted's team.